Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the L.A.M.E Book Club podcast. My name is Melissa.
And Ellie.
And we are in week 5 of Kingdom of Ash. Today is going to be chapters 81 through 100. And I feel like I say this every week, but truly buckle up, because not only is this an intense week, I have some intense opinions, and I am going to taper them as much as possible. But I feel like that's why you guys like to listen, is because we have thoughts and feelings. So I will tell you them, but I won't harp on them because I don't want to offend, potentially. I don't know. We'll see. Honestly, how funny. I'm saying all this now, and then watch, I'm like, yeah, I didn't like that. And you're like, yeah, no one did. I'm like, okay. watch that be what it is.
We'll see, I guess. I don't know what you could have such strong opinions about that are so controversial at this point in the book.
I take it back. I don't have strong opinions. I think I have differing opinions for most people. Maybe not, but I just think, well, and you know what? We'll get into it. We have housekeeping stuff to talk about first. We will get into all of those things, but if you haven't already, go listen to our hot goss from this last Monday. We are talking Red Queen versus Powerless. We batch record these, and so truthfully, we haven't recorded it yet, but I'm telling you right now, I know Ellie's probably going to break my heart, and
I'm going to shake you all to your core. If you haven't listened, you should listen. I was shaken to my core. It was a very highly demanded episode, and I've put it off for a while because I really don't love looking at the negative in books so often, but then I did. And I honestly am walking away like, I have an icky feeling. Okay, and if you want to know why, listen to Monday's episode.
I hate this. All right, well, if you haven't heard, everyone, we launched our Patreon.
Yeah.
Very exciting. It was a lot of fun. We had a really amazing response. So thank you so much for everyone who joined. Thank you for all of the kind words and everything that we've received. I really appreciate it. If you want to continue to listen to our book club episodes, though, after this last Kingdom of Ash episode next week, our book club will be moving to Patreon. So go join. There's a couple different tiers. You can go check those out. We have a poll going for you guys are Patreon tier, highest tier members get to vote on what we're doing next for book club. And so go do that. You guys can have a say in the books that we cover in our episodes. And our Discord has been popping, which has been fun.
Wait, real quick. We have to do Patreon shout outs.
Yes.
Brandy, Martino, Sean,
Let's just do first
Josie
names.
Davis. Okay. Brittany Fear, Alyssa Bettendorf,
or not.
Delaney Brittenbaugh. Wow, you guys are seeing if I'm good at reading or not based on this, I guess. Mara Powell, Kaiser Beams. I like that. That reminds me of laser beams.
It does. Watch it be wrong,
Johnson,
too.
McKenna Myers, Renee Horn, Emily Guy, Katie, Nicole Amarine, Priscilla Griggs, Celeste, Greenwich and Lennox. Ooh, Refinage 792. Lexi Spawn, Jessica Barrett, Emma Leona, Alyssa Minton, Stephanie Voigt, Kaylin DeBook, Haley Savino, and Piper Chestnut. Thank you all for supporting the L.A.M E Book Club podcast. You guys are the best.
Yes, thank you so much. We are grateful that you guys are here. And with that being said, it is October, everyone. You can, if you couldn't tell by the calendar, you can tell by my spooky ACOTAR shirt, little ghosts reading. My daughter says, yeah.
Where'd you get that?
Recently. Did you not?
From where?
Actually, Taylor got it for me, so I don't even know.
I love that. I didn't realize it was the ACOTAR books.
Yes, that's why I was like, did you like my shirt? And you're like, yeah, whatever, ghosts.
I just saw Ghosts with Books. I thought it was cute.
Yeah.
Didn't know
so it's ACOTAR.
Makes it better.
It is. And I asked Holland, my daughter, which one was her favorite, and she said this one, which is the first book. And she goes, I like the pink one. I'm like, well, it's red. And she goes, oh, okay, but let's just pretend it's pink, and then walked away. So in case anyone was wondering,
through.
that is so my kid. But it's October, so spooky stories. You guys, we've had so many awesome submissions. We're really excited to do the episode, and there is still time. We have until October 24th to submit your story, so go ahead and do so if you haven't. There's a link in our bio for the Google form where you can submit it. If you need help, if you have any questions, like reach out to us, DM us. We're happy to help you out. But yeah, go ahead and submit those. We're excited to read all of them on our Halloween episode. Yes. And I changed my costume, and I am excited. I don't want to say anything else, but all I'm gonna say is you guys are gonna want to watch this one.
I'm so excited. I cannot wait. Okay, we have a review of the week. Would you like me to read it?
Yes, please.
This comes from YogaMa28. It says, I found my tribe, 5 stars. This podcast feels just like chatting with friends about books I love. Melissa and Ellie have such great chemistry and always keep things fun and engaging. I've recommended this podcast to so many of my book-loving friends because it's that good. I'm really hoping they do live episodes in the future. Best podcast ever. Thank you so much, YogaMa28.
Yes.
And if you are wanting to do a live book club, were you going there?
That is. You take it away, Ellie.
You can join our Patreon, our love tier, and after we finish a book, we are going to host a live virtual book club so we can talk with all of you about the book, your thoughts, our thoughts, and just mesh one unimind.
Exactly.
Too far?
Nope. No. One collective mind. We all need to think. No, I'm just kidding. That's too far. But I like Unimind, just all at the same time, live and in person, in the virtual flesh, talking about these books.
I like it.
It sounded different coming out of my mouth than it did in my head. I will be honest.
I like virtual flesh. No, that sounds gross too.
That's what I said.
Next week, we are doing Kingdom of Ash chapters 101 to 121, plus the
epilogue.
Prologue. Epilogue.
Yep. End of
the last epilogue. A Better World. So be here for that because that is the end, and then we start our next book. And then we all cry. Yeah. If you want to vote on our next book, again, join our Patreon. We have 3 options. It is between Lightlark, One Dark Window, and the Caraval series. Yep. So get your voice out there. Yeah. Let us know what the next episodes need to be.
And thank you guys for being here. Thank you, like I already mentioned, for all the support we've gotten this last week on Patreon. Thank you for all your reviews. Honestly, it means a lot. Doing this is so much fun, but it's also a lot of work. And so when we get a lot, we are positive reinforcement people. So when we get the reinforcement from you guys, it makes us so happy. So thank you just honestly for everyone listening, for being here, for everyone who follows us on Instagram. And also we hit 20K this last week on Instagram, which was insane. So thank you to all 20K of you. But so if you don't already follow us on Instagram, social media, it's @L.A.M.E Book Club Pod. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you have an iPhone. It helps our algorithm and boosts it a lot. And subscribe on YouTube, all the things. Join Patreon. You all are the best. So just thank you so much. And with that, Ellie, are you ready to jump into this deep, deep episode of Kingdom of Ash? All right, chapter 81. As Adian's armies ready for battle, 1,000 wyvern-riding Iron Teeth witches join the Morath troops marching for Orinth. And I'm already stopping. Ellie, 1,000 people doesn't mean anything to you, but what about 1,000 wyverns and witches on them?
That's stronger.
That's a lot?
That's stronger.
Okay. Yeah. Telling Lysandra he loves her, Adian prepares to send her through the castle's escape tunnels with Evangeline, while Rolf's Mycenians prepare to defend against the Iron Teeth with fire lances. I was starting to get over Adian at this point. I mean, forgive him. Like, I'm just sick of being irritated with characters at this point. So I'm like, you know what? He's trying. He was a boob.
It's exhausting,
but
isn't
he's
it,
trying.
To be so hateful
so
towards characters. I truly think that's why I've left Chaol alone for the past few weeks.
Honestly.
Because I'm tired.
Well, and the fact that he really has he has not redeemed himself, in my opinion. I feel like he has toned it down, and for that, I appreciate it. I know for a lot of people by the end of Tower of Dawn, his character had like redeemed himself. I'm not going to give him that much credit, personally. But I will say he has just kind of faded into the background, and for that, I thank him. I feel like he's just been easy and go with the flow for the most part for the rest of this book. And if he had been like this the whole time, I would love him. But he's chosen to not be like that. And so that's my own personal opinion. But I agree with you. It's annoying. I don't like to not like characters. I just can't help myself sometimes. And unfortunately, he was a target for most of this book. And because I think of that, I'm like, I'm so sick of it. Aedian's, he's doing his best.
It's like this book is teaching us to extend grace. Like,
it's as if
we started off so pent up, book 1, but now the end, I'm ready to forgive. I'm ready to let Aedian back into my heart.
It's as if this book is teaching us real life skills, honestly. Like, while epic battle between demons and witches and sea wyverns and sea dragons or whatever might not actually happen, forgiveness can. And for that, Sarah, we thank you. I don't know. All right. Manon and the 13 arrive in Orinth with an army of Kraken witches numbering over 5,000, which might as well be 50 to Ellie.
Peanuts.
Morath's approaching army is forced to halt and re-strategize. Lysandra and Evangeline stay in Orinth, where Lysandra warms to Aedian after he declares his love. Dorian summons the spirit of Gavin and tells him that he has all 3 of the word keys. He plans to bring them to Aelin and then shifts into a wyvern and hides amongst Morath's Iron Teeth legions as they fly to Orinth. So, one, really cool. Loved that he literally camouflaged himself in plain sight. Still have an issue with how he's suddenly able to shift into literally anything and control Volg queens with mind powers and everything, even though he 2 weeks ago couldn't do any of that. Have an issue with that, but I am gonna move past it. In the tunnels under the castle, Lysandra finds the Florine River and transforms into a sea dragon. She swims down the river along Morath's eastern flank and awaits the signal from Rolf's Mycenians. Lysandra attacks the enemy as a sea dragon, and Aedian's armies launch flaming boulders at Morath's forces. Manon and the 13 fight the Iron Teeth Legion alongside the Krakens. A Volg prince climbs the battlements and faces off against Aedian.
In my head, no chance Aedian walks away from that. Guaranteed in my mind as I read that, he's dead. That's it. And he's going to be the one we cry about. This is when you read the ends of books and you're like, there will be a death that I will cry about. Except for Sarah, you don't always know, but it's very likely with a last stand battle. And I just knew it was going to be Aedian because he's just he's a warrior, but every fight we've seen him in thus far, he has lost. And so
has he?
I didn't kind of when he
I'm not arguing with you. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. I'm like, has he really?
No, yeah. I think he took on, I don't want to say Rowan, but I kind of want to say Rowan, just like a pecking order type of fight. Maybe.
Yes, in Queen of Shadows. Yes, he did. You're right. Okay,
and he lost. And then I'm pretty sure when verbally he's fought with Aelin, he's lost.
Yes.
Definitely in this past entire book with the war, losing.
Yeah,
Lysandra,
that's so true.
Emotional fight, he's lost. And so I'm seeing him against this Valg prince, and I'm like, no freaking chance. Bye, Aedian. And I'm sad. Yeah. But it is what it is.
But, surprise, surprise, the Valg prince stabs Aedian. Then Lord Ren Alsbrook kills the Volg with a fire lance, and Aedian only falls unconscious and is sent to the healer. So, no death for Aedian today.
But did not win.
He lost the war, the battle, but not the war. The man is still in this war, and he's fighting, quite literally, for his life. Aelin's armies hurry for Orinth, but worry nothing will be left to save when they arrive. Rowan rethinks Aelin's tattoos, which were erased by healers during her months of torture. He adds 2 more, one that tells their story, oh, and a mysterious one that we don't know about yet. Aelin and Lorcan, sorry. I wrote Lockin. I wrote her last name on accident. Aelin and Lorcan agree to a future together as Lady and Lord Perant after the war. Dorian finds forces and reveals Dorian finds Aelin's forces. My goodness, you guys. I don't know what it is about these episodes that just kill me. Dorian finds Aelin and reveals to her that he's in possession of all 3 word keys. On land, Lysandra's sea dragon form struggles to hold back Moras forces as they attempt to gain access to the city through their river tunnels. In the skies, however, Yellowlegs attack Manon and her wyvern Abraxos, and the Yellowlegs wyverns clamp around Abraxos' throat.
Here, I thought, okay, Abraxos dies, and
yes,
I would not stand for that. I would close the book and never return. I was so mad. I don't want any of them to die. I've grown so attached to every single member of this little group.
Yeah.
And the animals.
Especially the animals. It is like the line in the sand that everyone knows, every movie producer knows, every TV producer, every I would assume author.
The dog.
Exactly. The dog always lives. And if it doesn't, you immediately, half your audience is gone. They are emotionally disconnected or leave or stop watching. Like, the dog is where we draw the line.
It is Abraxos. The most devastating when the animal, like, I Am
because
Legend.
They're so helpless.
Can we reflect on that?
We cannot, because I'm good. I don't want to cry. They broke the rule.
Marley
They broke the golden rule.
I don't think
Homeward
I
Bound.
Try to watch. Homeward. No, they don't die. All 3 of them make it home.
An Incredible Journey? What is it?
I don't know.
You know what? He does. The dog does make it home in the end, but it is touch and go, and you don't really know until the last minute of the movie if he's going to make it back, until you see him on the horizon limping over the hill.
You just don't hurt the dog.
You don't. And so this is where I was like, my goodness, Sarah's going to make up all her own rules and cross this line. Are we serious? I was very nervous. I was very nervous. But fear not, everyone. Petra Blueblood appears with her Iron Teeth legions to fight alongside Manon and the Krakens, saving Manon and Abraxos from the Yellowlegs Witch. Woohoo! Manon and the 13 block the river tunnels with boulders before she takes Abraxos to a healer. Lysandra returns to the castle, where she tells Aedion, Manon, and the 13 news that Morath has repaired the remaining witch tower. All right, you guys. Then, most of the 13 fly for the tower, leaving Manon behind with the injured Abraxos. Astrid and the other 11 wind witches infiltrate the tower and commit a mass yielding, destroying it and a massive portion of Morath's army in the blast. When I tell you I was a weeping child reading this, I cried harder in this part than any other part of the series. The way, Astrid, her last look, right before she entered, and oh my gosh, the way Sarah wrote this, pure poetry. I forgave her for everything. I forgave her for Chaol, all of it, all of him. I forgave her for, it was poetry. And I hated that I loved it because it was so gut-wrenching, but I loved how moving it was. And
when I say I expected Sarah to kill off one character, I did not expect her to kill 11 characters.
12.
Wouldn't it be 12?
It was Astrid and the 11. Yes.
12 characters. I cried for probably 45 minutes. And I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but for someone as cold-hearted as me.
No, it also seems like a lot. Oh, as someone who needs to cry on the reg, it's a long time. It's not just that, Sarah, our sweet Sarah, who hardly ever kills anyone, it's not just that she killed 12 people, it's that they all died at the same time too. I
know.
It was shocking. It was so shocking.
It's so much deeper than just oh, they killed themselves to help with the war. Like, they were raised, and it was drilled into their blood to be the most selfish, the most I'm here for me, and the most like, how can I improve myself, move my status up, no heart, no love. And for them to have looked at Manon's leadership and seen the inspiration that she started leading with and taken after that, and then become so selfless to see the greater purpose and recognize exactly what they need to do to help build a better world and believe in that so strongly as Manon did. Crushed.
I know.
I was crushed.
It was the worst. And I hope you hear exactly the reference that I'm making right there. Say it.
Michael
out loud.
Gary Scott.
Thank you.
I thought you were asking like the audience, like, I hope you hear it.
Sorry.
And so when you said say it, I was like, who, me?
Sorry. I know you can't really tell. I was looking at you on my computer when I was saying that. But I do realize now how that could be confusing because you can't tell that I'm looking at you. All right. So the citizens of Orinth and Aelin's allies gather to honor the 13 by laying flowers on the battlefield as Manon mourns her fallen friends. And honestly, this was just like making it worse. I'm like, Sarah, you just killed these people and now you're making me even more sad somehow, and they're already dead. And unbeknownst to her, King's Flame begins to bloom in the Western Waste, hinting that the curse preventing the witches from returning to their homeland has been broken. Chills. Full body chills again, even just thinking, like, reading it, thinking about it, reading it again, talking about reading it again. Like,
do you remember what the curse was?
Well, they couldn't. The old Kraken witch cursed the land. I don't remember.
Hold on, I pulled it up.
Okay, I was like, I remember who did the curse, but I don't remember what it was, but I know that they couldn't return until it was broken.
It is blood to blood and soul to soul. Together this was done, and only together can it be undone. Be the bridge, be the light. When the iron melts, when the flowers spring from fields of blood, let the land be witness and return home. So it had to happen in this selfless act for the iron, quote unquote, the iron teeth to melt. And then from their blood, the flowers would bloom. Poetic. Beautiful.
So good. Yep.
3 out of 3 Michelin stars.
5 out of 3. Don't jip
5
them.
out of 3.
Dorian and Chaol tearfully reunite, and Dorian finally meets Irene.
Okay.
Aelin and honestly, can you imagine?
Loved it.
Didn't even and it didn't even dawn on me. We have 30 chapters left in this book. And Dorian and Irene, this is the first time, and I know they have not met yet. And there's so many people and so many side stories that I definitely didn't even like realize that until they met. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right, they haven't met yet. Which is
how
insane.
Much Dorian and Chaol, more Chaol than Dorian, I feel like, love each other.
Agreed.
For them to have not seen each other for so long, I love a good reuniting. I love it. It's so beautiful.
It's been almost 3 whole books since they've seen each other. And while I agree the relationship did feel a little bit more one-sided, it's still sweet and they are still friends. And we do know that Dorian still loves him. And it was a good, heartwarming moment for me as well.
You know what's interesting? On that, why didn't Sarah write it so that Dorian equally loved Chaol as much as we read about Chaol loving Dorian? Maybe because Chaol could give up more for Dorian than Dorian could give up for Chaol, and Dorian had more of a storyline driving the plot than Chaol really did. But
honestly,
I feel like she could have written it better, like they loved each other equally. It really felt like Chaol was just like, I love him so much, I would do anything for him. And Dorian was like, thanks.
Okay, I actually think that we are in the minority on this.
You think?
And I do. I think a lot of people, I mean, let us know. I mean, if you agree. I think a lot of people feel like it was a mutual. And equal relationship. I really think we just crabbed on Chaol so much that I'm like, even subconsciously, I'm like, there's no shot Dorian likes this guy.
Dorian's definitely on our side with this. What a weirdo.
Dorian agrees with us. I actually
Am I projecting onto fictional characters?
Have
I gotten to this
problem?
level? No.
I really think that's what it is.
Oh no.
Hey, we're very messed up, Ellie. Aelin and her allies vote on whether to create the lock immediately or march on to fight in Terrasen, and their vote favors for forging the lock and sealing the word gate immediately. Rowan suggests that Aelin and Dorian forge the lock together, each giving up half of their power so they can both survive. Aelin, okay, and I'm gonna, before we even jump into all of this, I am going to caveat by saying I was confused the first time reading this through. And I am still just as confused the second time. So I truly, probably, Ellie will be asking you questions. I would love to ask our audience if they could respond at the moment.
What's the worst, though, is like, you'll ask me a question and I'll answer it confidently. And then someone will message us and be like, that's so
not true.
wrong.
I know.
And then I'm like, I'm embarrassed. I don't know if you're embarrassed. It's just a mess. But I will answer it as confidently as I always do. So go ahead.
Incredible. All right. Well, and I don't even remember. I'll have questions as we go. But I just remember being like, you know what? The second time going through this, I'll have a better understanding of what's going on. I'm still just a girl. Like, So, anyways, Aelin and Dorian agree to Rowan's plan and journey to Endovier, the location of the salt mines where Aelin was enslaved at the beginning of the series, where they start forging the lock. Aelin absorbs the word keys into her arm and becomes the word gate. Aelin and Dorian are taken to an in-between realm where the lock begins draining their powers. When it becomes clear that it'll kill them both rather than spare them, the spirit of Dorian's father appears. So this is immediately where my first question comes in. If one person had to die, and I can't remember like if it explains this or not. If it did, I missed it again. But like, is it just because that the power like doesn't care that they're trying to both live and it's just selfish and taking it? Or okay.
I personally think that's the answer, because no one's ever tried with two people. They knew that one person would die,
would have to die.
With two, then it's like, oh no, it will kill two people as well. So I think even if they went in with 3 or 4, it doesn't matter how powerful everyone is. It's just like anyone coming in needs to be sacrificed.
Gotcha. Okay, that's what I was leaning towards, but I'm like, did I miss something? Like, is this specifically laid out and I'm just an idiot and missed it? But that's what I was leaning towards. So I do feel a little bit better. Thank you.
Well, I think I was going to say, if you missed it, then like Aelin and Dorian missed it too, because they went in anyways, but I could see like if it was explained without their knowledge or something.
Well, yeah.
It was not.
I mean, we as the reader generally know a lot more of what's going on, except when Aelin has a plan. Jinx. But like outside of her plans, we are generally brought into the fold of most everything that's happening, and whether the characters are or not. And so that's where I was like, I'm probably missing something. It's probably me. I am usually the common denominator with the problem, but I just wanted to clear the air on that one for my own personal thing. So here's where one of my unpopular opinions comes in. I couldn't have cared less about Dorian's dad, and the fact that he got brought back into this made zero impact on me emotionally. I don't know how unpopular that is.
I actually did love it. Well, one, I could have done without it. I wasn't like, this is amazing. I'll try to think of who I would have liked to see come. Maybe even Nehemia. If Nehemia came back, I feel like that would have been a bigger impact for me.
But she's already come back so many times. She's come back like 3 or 4 times. So it would be cool, but I'm like, we've gotten enough of her coming back from the grave.
But there was that unsettled, unresolved ending with Dorian and his father, where Dorian was asking himself, like, was he actually evil, or was he just taken over by the Valg? And do I hate him, or do I hate the Valg? Was he always terrible? What am I remembering and what am I not?
Yeah.
So it left us kind of feeling confused. So I felt like this was good closure. And for that, I give this a pass. Not only a pass, I did like it.
I think for me at least, it wasn't enough closure. Like, he was brought back, so the opportunity of that closure happening was there. But I feel like he was mostly interacting with Aelin. Like, I don't even necessarily feel like... and I'm not saying that Dorian couldn't have got...
It's just the act of what he did,
I guess,
that shows he himself, he was a good person. And
that's true. It was
the Valg that corrupted him.
That's true. I guess I just don't personally, and this is where it's like just unpopular, I just don't care.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so I think a lot of people, like, the 13 doing their mass yielding and this were, like, peak of, like, book, like, of the book, like, emotional, like, and for me, it just, like, it missed the mark a little bit because it felt, I don't know, it felt like pulling at strings. It honestly, you know what it felt like, not to keep bringing up animals, but it felt like the cheap isn't the right word, it's just the only way because it didn't feel cheap in the story, but just like in movies or shows, or actually my husband has a big problem anytime a company or a product will add a dog into a commercial, because he's like, they're just trying to get your sympathy, like the dog has nothing to do with this. Like, he hates when that happens. And so
to me, you, the king was kind of the
dog. This was the dog, and I'm like, this honestly.
So it's like you're just trying to pull on my heartstrings rather than writing in a better, compelling character for me to feel something. I see.
Exactly.
So do you have a rotation, like a different person in mind that you would have been like that? Okay, let's hear it.
No, here's what I would have, and I'll tell you what I would have rather happened as soon as we talk about what actually does happen, because it's in like 2 seconds. But Dorian's father, the former king, offers to pay the price required to forge the lock. Aelin sends Dorian back to their world so that he may survive to rule, and forges the lock with his father instead. Dorian's father delivers a message from Aelin's parents in the afterlife. They love her and are proud of her. And his power forges the lock, and Aelin's power vanishes, and he dies. So, like, the message was sweet and all of that, but truly, like, I think this would have been so much more impactful for me if Dorian had died instead of his dad. Like, yes. I just, because his dad was already, like, dead. What did he died again? Like, that.
Again, I bring to the forefront that Avengers scene in Endgame where Black Widow and Hawkeye were like racing to the end to sacrifice themselves. If she would, because this came out, I think, before that. So if she would have written that style of like chasing each other, like racing to the death to save the other person, and Dorian made it first, that would have crushed me body and soul.
Because, like, we have had and not that I want Dorian to die, but I just want to have my gut ripped out of my throat. Like, I love when I've been so invested in these series and I'm just, like, emotionally distraught at the end. Yeah. Especially when there's, like, at least a little bit of a happy ending after said emotional distraughtness. I don't think it's a word. It is now. But I don't know. I just think this could, for me personally, and I know we literally just got done talking about, like, it's so exhausting being negative. I'm not trying to be negative. I just want to point out, like, my feelings on it. And I really think it just would have been a lot more impactful for me if Dorian was the one to sacrifice himself. I did like that we learned that his dad's name was Dorian, because that was cute. But again, just like the message from her parents, learning that his name was Dorian, just like Dorian's, and all that stuff just felt like it added to it for sure, but it didn't make sense in that moment. I think if we had learned all of those things in like different parts of the book, it would have been more impactful at the time we learned it, versus like trying to tie everything in at the very end when it felt so random.
I will say I'm very glad that Aelin's parents weren't the ones to come through and help in that moment, that it was Dorian's dad instead. Because I think with Aelin's parents, it would have felt too similar to James and Lily Potter. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
I think it would have flown too close to that. But yeah, I do agree. I think if it was Dorian, that would have absolutely killed me, which would have been a better ending for me.
Yeah, just a better emotional
I love
ending.
tragedy. Yeah.
I didn't realize how much I like tragedy until reading books that destroyed me, and I'm like, oh, I hate how much I love this.
I know.
And now let's get to the part that this is another part that confused me a little bit and just absolutely pissed me off. Aelin's fire. Oh, wait. Also, I thought it needed someone's life. So I don't understand why it took her dad's life, but then also her power. Like, why did her power need to be taken as well if his dad was already sacrificing his life, even though he was already dead?
I think this is one of those things where you just have to nod and move on. I don't think that there's, like, a full understanding, because the rules are not written to the point of, like...
I need
clarity.
rules.
Yeah, there's no clear rule here where you're like, okay, it takes this, and this can be used to sub this. It's not like that. They're all just kind of going in hopeful of like what's gonna happen. Turns out it needs all her magic, I guess. So,
but there are kind of rules because Elena set out the rules earlier when they learned like what was gonna take to forge the lock, and Aelin knew that she was gonna have to die.
Yeah, but even Elena broke her own rules in being like, okay, I have to trap him in this, and then deciding I'm not going to send him back. I'm just going to trap him instead. I don't know, whatever she did that caused this entire issue. Well, like everyone's breaking their rules. We just never know.
I'm just saying, no, for sure. And it's not even, Elena wasn't the one who made up those rules though. I'm just saying like Sarah wrote in the rules earlier in the book. And then now the rules are different.
Please, but like please, everybody, go back to my 2 episodes of Hot Goss, Plot Holes 1 and 2, and you'll see how many rules were written and how many rules were not followed by Miss Sarah. Love her writing, but so much of it you do have to chalk up to like, it's just magic. I don't know. And I think that this is one of them.
Yeah, and I think if I wasn't so confused by it, I could easily be like, you know what, it's a book. Let it go. Move on.
Live and let go.
Because it also didn't make any sense to me, I was like, I need this explained.
That's literally how I felt about any time Brannon, Mala, and Elena, any of them were brought up. I was like, I don't get it. And flip to the next page.
Well, that's how I felt in these next few chapters, because Aelin's fire is completely gone. The only magic that she still has is a tiny sliver of water magic from her mother's bloodline. So
wait. Can I?
Yes, go for it.
A character losing their power. I was dead serious. This better not be the final product of this happenstance. If Aelin loses her fire, I truly looked at Throne of Glass and was like, I probably am not going to like this series. After spending countless hours, all this time reading this book, if she loses her powers in the end, are you kidding me with this? I do not like when a character loses their powers at all.
I did not realize that you felt so strongly about that.
So strongly that it nearly ruined the series for me.
Well, see, again, this is just what I just still have a really hard time wrapping my mind around is just what are the rules? And I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with this, but it's like, okay, so her firepower is gone, and that was part of the cost of forging the lock. But her water power, her healing power is still there, and she's still immortal. So I'm like, it didn't take everything, but it took something. So I'm like, where was the line drawn? How did it know to draw the line there? And I think I'm just looking too far into this.
Here's where I came up with my answer for this. And I don't know if this is exactly right, because she had to have some extent of fire that was her own. But it's also understood that a lot of her fire was like that godlike fire, Deanna's firepower. Like it wasn't all hers, right?
Yeah. But it says her fire is completely gone. Like
no, I know. So that's what I'm chalking it up to, like they took all of their godlike power back and left her with what was really hers, which I would think she'd have some fire that's her own, but they left her with that little drop of magic.
But that's what I'm saying. She had fire before the whole encounter with Deanna.
Yeah, I don't know. So, I'm trying. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me either.
It's not helping. I'm sorry. And it gets worse, because the gods appear and demand that Aelin release them from this realm, which is their prison. Aelin opens a portal to their peaceful realm of rolling green hills. How, with what magic? I don't know, but she opens this portal. But before they leave, exactly. This is what I'm saying. I'm like, but then she offers them a bargain. If they leave Erewhon in Erilea, they must return the soul of Elena, whom they've held captive for centuries. So in response, Deanna goes, F that, destroys Elena's soul just out of spite, and then crosses through the portal instead of fulfilling her promise to remove Erewhon from the world. So they left Erewhon, walked through this portal that she somehow was able to summon with no magic for it, and then killed Elena forever. And then everyone else was just cool with Deanna did all that. And then everyone else was just like following her through the portal.
Those gods suck.
They do, but I'm just like, anything about the gods, and please, everyone in the comments, don't make me feel worse about myself. Like, if anything, only comment if you were also confused. I just was like, I don't understand anything about them. Like, the more I talk about it,
not controversial. I don't. As you reopen this issue, I'm like, oh yeah, it turns out I don't think I understood either. I think I just read through and was like, I guess.
We're just. I really
so
think
close to the end. I'm just gonna force myself to think that I know what's going on.
I really feel like Sarah had just poured so much of her heart and soul into this series and has spent so much time writing it, and she knew she was almost at the end. She's like, I'm just gonna tie this up with a little bow I'm pulling out of my butt, and we're gonna move on. Everyone's gonna be so tired at this point, no one's gonna know. How are they gonna know?
They're gonna know. How are they gonna know?
I'm like 99% kidding, but there's enough evidence there.
I'm about 40% kidding at this point, because it doesn't make sense. What was the point of this whole thing if the gods were just like, never mind, not gonna follow through on my part, and I'm taking your magic, and I'm killing Dorian's father for realsies, and
well,
Elena, bye.
That's where I'm like, were they the ones in charge? Because I think they were. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't understand anything. I don't.
Sarah,
anyways, but while
if you ever listen to this, can you just give me the bullet points of
I just need the cliff notes, please, and thank you. So while all this is happening in the waking world, Rowan feels his mating bond with Aelin growing weaker. The rest of the gods follow Deanna into the gate through their own world, but the fire goddess Mala stops to give Aelin a piece of her power. To avenge Elena, Aelin opens up another portal to a hell realm inside of the gods' peaceful world before closing off their only exit. And that was Mala's power allowed Aelin to seal all gates in and out of her world and pay the price to return home. Like, even writing this out, I literally had to look up a guide because I'm like, I don't understand any of it. She opened up a second portal with magic she doesn't have, while being gifted power that allows her to close off portals in gates so that they can never return. And somehow, even though they were in their world, this new portal forced them into hell. I don't think
it forced them into hell. I think it just opened up hell in their world, so hell could come through. Which my mind is blown at the mention of hell, and we won't get into that. But my gosh!
But kind of, we will get into that here in a second, because
I never recognized that because I read this before.
Me too. I also read this before Crescent City. So if you haven't read Crescent City, this is like zero spoiler at all. They talk about the Princes of Hell, I think, on the jacket cover, but hell is like a huge part of the Crescent City world.
Mm-hmm. And Pete the sweater, everyone. I'm in theme for today.
She sure is.
It says Crescent City if you're just listening.
Yeah. But the new tattoos Rowan inked on her, the mysterious one that we didn't know what it was, turns out it was a word mark map back home to him, which she follows, and that was cute. Loved that.
Huh. Yeah.
Aelin falls through various worlds. I believe, I can't remember, I should have counted.
Sent me. When I read this, the book was thrown not only just through the wall, but probably through the entire exterior of my home too. It was like a small asteroid through the sky. I could not believe what I was reading. She did it. Like, this was I read ACOTAR first, and if you're probably listening, you probably did that too. Read ACOTAR first, then Throne of Glass. So to read a mesh of these two worlds, I couldn't believe she was going to do this. But wait, there's more. Go ahead.
We also got a small peek into Crescent City. We just didn't realize it yet because I read this in the same order. I read ACOTAR, then Throne of Glass, then Crescent City. Yeah. So she's falling through various. I'm so sorry, excuse me. I want to say there were 9 or 11. I can never remember exactly how many, and I should have paid more attention when I was reading this last time.
I can look it up while you read this.
Please do. But she falls through all of them. One of them, I can hear your typing. My goodness.
Sorry.
One
more word. Okay, done.
Okay. She passes through in Crescent City, quote, a world where a great city had been built along the curve of a river, the buildings impossibly tall and glimmering with lights. And then she also passes through Prythian, quote, a world of snow-capped mountains under shining stars, which was also specifically the Night Court. And she sees a pregnant Feyre and Rhys stargazing. And Rhys
hold on. She doesn't see a pregnant Feyre and Rhys. She sees a pregnant Fae and a male Fae. And I have to point that out. And if you have not read ACOTAR, the full series, skip ahead about 30 seconds because I know we're not supposed to get into too much lore on these episodes, but I simply must. Melissa, I have read that because Sarah posted that picture of like the snow and the pines and all that, and everybody thinks that that's a hint towards what ACOTAR 5, the next ACOTAR book, is going to be. That wasn't Feyre and Rhys that she passed, that Aelin passed, but rather Elaine and whoever her mate is going to be in the next book, and Elaine's going to be the one who's pregnant because of the snow and the pines that they were in the snow. And at the time that Feyre was pregnant, I think that people have done the research to recognize that she wouldn't have been in the snow at this time. It wouldn't have been winter in Velaris at this point.
Well, so I guess I hear you, and I love to assume lots of things, but I don't know how true I think that is. Just because these books were written so long ago, I don't know if she had even planned on writing another ACOTAR at this point. She could have, but one, there was always snow on Ramiel. Like, they're in the Night Court. I know that in Velaris, there might not have been snow, but guess what, guys? They can winnow. They can fly. That doesn't necessarily mean they were in Velaris. They were just in the Night Court. And
don't you just want to have fun sometimes? I don't. Don't you just want to believe and dream?
No, and here's why. The reason I also think I have to believe that this is Rhys and Feyre is because, one, we know that Feyre and Rhys have a kid together, if you've read Silver Flames. And Rhys, whoever this Fae male is, sends out a blast of his power to slow Aelin's rapid descent, and she eventually falls into her own world. Who else granted, we don't know who Elaine ends up with, but like, Rhys is the most powerful High Lord. Like, not very many people have the power to do something like that. So that's another reason where I'm just like,
there is this too. If you go back into A Court of Silver Flames, there is a chapter where they talk about a red star blazing through the sky like an asteroid.
Exactly.
And I think Rhys even says like he sent out power or something like that.
Exactly.
But everyone recognizes it as a bad omen, which also could point to, again, I don't want to get into too much lore, and I know we've even extended the 30 seconds, but if Rhys is feeling that that's a bad omen, and Aelin, Aelin, we are certain that she is a good person, that she's a good guy. Is Rhys a bad guy?
No.
Okay, those are for hot gosses.
Those are for hot
gosses. With this. We're done with this.
Yes. So Aelin wakes with only a sliver of her former power, but she's still immortal after sacrificing her mortality to forge the lock. And survive. So she has a teensy bit of fire still, and some of her water magic or whatever. A week after the 13 sacrificed themselves to save Terrason's armies, Queen Ansel of the Western Wastes offers to share her territory with Manon and the witches should they break their curse, which we know that they did. But they don't know this. We know this as the reader. They don't know all of this.
But reading that gave you so much like excitement. Like,
yes,
they are going to go home.
They already broke it.
It's not a battle for the land anymore if it's being offered to be shared. And so it just warms your heart that it's like they are going home. There is no question anymore. And it gives me chills already.
Yeah. So that was it for today, you guys. Like I said, I have opinions and thoughts, and turns out I was so dramatic and none of them were that crazy, but I thought some of them might have been. And all fairly normal. Mostly, actually, I didn't remember how many questions I had, but here we are. And I hope you enjoyed this conversation between two average girls who like to read books, because that's what this podcast is.
Yeah. Again, like and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Join our Patreon if you want more book club episodes. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.
For our very last Kingdom of Ash. Bye.
Don't break my heart.